Hey everyone, welcome back to Keto and Crime. If you're wondering why I'm in the same clothes as you just saw me in, it's because I'm actually coming to you later the same day. I normally record these the day after the testimony takes place so that I can get it out to you within 24 hours. The video that is just before this on my channel covers the testimony that took place on Tuesday, April 16th. I am coming to you later in the day on Wednesday, April 17th, because all the testimony that took place on Wednesday was of a financial nature, and it can actually just be summed up very quickly instead of the longer summaries that you're used to from me. So this video will actually come in under 30 minutes. So that's the reason I wanted to let you know. If you're new here, my name is Tracy. I do true crime, dark history, and horror movie reviews. I do a holiday tree, which is currently Cinco de Mayo, and I really appreciate you joining me for my coverage of the Chad Daybell trial. This is not the first trial that I have done these summaries on day by day. I've done Kyle Rittenhouse trial and Lori Vallow. And any other trials that you guys are really interested in, I'll be happy to do that as long as I have a good background on the case, which I do for this one. So with that being said, let's dive into all the testimony that happened on Wednesday, April 17th. So when court first adjourns, comes to order, there is some debate about who will be the alternate jurors. So Pryor is wanting to know how those will be chosen, if they have to take places, and they said that those alternate jurors, if they do have to deliberate, would be chosen by lottery at the time that they are required to take the place of a full-time jury. So pretty quickly, that was about 30 minutes of the day. And then the first witness, police detective Chuck Kunsaitis is called to the stand by the prosecution. Detective Kunsaitis was responsible for all the financial inquiries, that is, the things like bank accounts, credit cards, loan applications, purchases that were tracked through the major banks. He was responsible for investigating all of that for the city of Rexburg and the county of Fremont. So he also had constructed a timeline together with FBI forensic accountant Michael Douglas, who would be the second witness called today, showing bank account movement, purchases, applications in conjunction with the crimes in this whole saga and how they all sort of tie together. It was very interesting. The evidence presented on this day was huge. There were huge binders and accordion files of information that were presented to Judge Boyce. So he's going to have a whole lot of reading to do. So basically, it starts out with, of course, the background of of Chuck Kunsaitis's qualifications, how long he's been with Rexburg, la la la, and then he presents a presentation that includes a timeline along with photographic receipts of everything, and we see that during the timeline presented, which is 2018 to 2020, Lori Vallow, along with her children and late husband and Chad Daybell and Alex Cox had about 8 different bank accounts, ranging from J.P. Morgan Chase to BVAA to some other bank accounts. It showed that Lori was receiving the funds for Tylee's Social Security as well as the Social Security for JJ and her own Social Security benefits into first her J.P. Morgan Chase account and then later the BVAA account. It also showed that Alex Cox, before the move to Idaho, when everybody moved to Idaho, he was gainfully employed in Arizona and had his own bank account. Then just before the move, he quit his job and basically closed that account, opening a new account in Idaho at BVAA, the same bank that Lori Vallow had opened her new accounts, and that all of the monies that he was receiving at this time were sent wire transfer or through Venmo or some other type of thing from Lori Vallow. And the most interesting thing about this is when that move occurred, when they moved to Idaho, basically, Tylee did not have her own account, though she never had her own account. It was always with her mother on there as well. She basically had an account that only she used, and that money came specifically from Lori Vallow's account. So there were transfers from Lori Vallow's account to Tylee's account and also to Alex's account, and they would use that money for whatever. The last purchase that Tylee made was maybe a week before her disappearance at a McDonald's, and that money that she spent on her bank card was money put in there by Lori Vallow, a transfer from Lori Vallow and her account. So, yeah, same with Alex Cox. Everything he was spending was coming from Lori. There were also credit cards in which Lori was the account holder, and then you had Alex on there as a authorized user. And all of those purchases were either related to travel back and forth from Arizona to Idaho and back for everybody, including Melanie Boudreau. And you also, or now Palawowski, you also had lots of weapons purchases by Alex Cox before the attempted shooting of Tammy Daybell. And you had the flight information from Hawaii and back that was also for Chad Daybell. So you had a whole commingling of finances, including they've all filled out their rental applications together. And it seemed that all of the payments for their living, at least the people that came from Arizona, all came from the same source, and that was Lori Vallow. And whatever money Melanie Boudreau was able to get out of Brandon Boudreau, it all came from one single source. Pryor, on his cross-examination, disputed all this, saying that his client was not involved or implicated in the murder of Charles Vallow, and this timeline seems to implicate that he was. And Kunsaitis says, no, that's not what it's saying. It's just because all these crimes happen involving the same bunch of people that it's important to show what their financial records were, because often financial records are the key to crimes. It kind of shows how money was moving around. And then basically Pryor, in my opinion, got a little frustrated and said, you cannot prove that my client, Chad Daybell, was taking money from Lori Vallow. And basically, Kunsaitis disagrees and says, well, they were married, weren't they? And she was buying tickets for him, wasn't she? So, yes, I'm not saying that he was living off of her, but he was getting money from her. And the money was coming from the Social Security benefits. Most, and of course, we already know from the previous day's testimony that Lori never reported JJ or Tylee missing or dead. That had to be found out later. So she was illegally taking these funds. And it basically shows a trail of money leaving accounts for the children, going into accounts for Lori, and then the children disappeared. That was the spooky part of this. It's setting up a pattern that all of these people commingled funds. And then late in the afternoon, Kunsaitis is released, and they call FBI forensic accountant Michael Douglas, who is basically corroborating everything that Kunsaitis has already said, and with the addition of the money that Tylee was sending to her brother Colby also came from Lori, and just how the bank accounts for the children died at the same time as they did, as it were, and how that you could almost see how the money followed the disappearances, that the money was secured before the children were dealt with, in other words. And then Michael Douglas will be back on the stand today. Michael Douglas will be the first witness back on the stand tomorrow on Thursday, April 18th, and he will continue breaking down his timeline, showing how the finances are following the movements and the crimes in this case. It's chilling. These people were a legit cult, and I didn't even realize it until I literally watched the presentation on this. Even it didn't even hit me during Lori Vallow, and they gave essentially the same presentation. Just how intermingled all of these people were, whether or not their names were on anything, they were all living off the benefits and the money of the people they killed. And it's just stoking. And they were angry when they didn't get the rest of the money, like Charles Vallow's life insurance. They were angry. This was about money and control and living their best life. That's what these crimes were about. And on that angry note, I am going to get off of here way before 30 minutes for once. And I hope you enjoyed. This was a breakdown of the testimony in the Chad Daybell case. I could go into a lot more specifics, but essentially what I just told you is the gist of it. There's a lot of, this time, 8 a.m. on August 8th. There's a lot of that, but the gist of it, and that's what I'm here for, is to break it down and summarize it for you, is that these people lived off the blood of their prey. And with that being said, I'll be back with you on Friday morning to break down the testimony from Thursday, the 18th. And until next time, Keto Krime.